G'day, Mark from Mustard Bikes here in the workshop today with a new for 2025 CF-MOTO 675 SR. We've got one of our tail tidies and we're going to run you through the installation process start to finish. Now this product also fits the 675 NK. So our product does remove the rear light bar. So if you have purchased this, you will also need a set of indicators to fit to that as well. We do sell options for those on our website. Before we get started, we're going to need some tools. This install was filmed with an early release bike. As bike designs are updated and revamped over the years, some aspects of this installation may have changed. Please check our video description below to find out if there are any changes to the installation process shown here. To finish the job, you'll need a pair of side cutters, a 6mm and a 5mm Allen key, a flat blade screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 13mm socket on an extension or a 13mm spanner, and then depending on the indicators that you're using, you'll probably also need another spanner to do them up. So of course we have our tail tidy, but as mentioned earlier, you're also going to need some indicators. For the purposes of this video, we're using some of our Pixel Mini indicators available from our website. Now, depending on the indicator choice that you make, you may also need some other accessories to ensure that you have sufficient clearance for the width of your number plate. So inside the box, you're going to find the card that led you to this video, the base plate for the product, a large cable tie, as well as the link wire that allows us to plug all the lights into the main harness, a small bag with a number of nuts and bolts and cable ties, the brake light itself for the kit, and then wrapped in paper are the aluminium components for the tail tidy. So they consist of the light mount and then your number plate mount. In the bolt pack, you'll find 4 smaller cable ties, 3 M8 bolts, as well as 3 M8 nylock nuts, and then these 2 little Phillips head screws. So now we've got everything together that we need to finish the job. First step, take your key and remove the pillion seat. Underneath the pillion seat, locate the data connector and use your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 screws holding it in place. Pull out the wiring sheath for the wiring that runs to the rear fender and use your side cutters to cut open the cable tie. Pull back the sheath and disconnect the 6-pin plug and the 2 bullet plugs. So now that the wiring is disconnected, we can take our 6mm Allen key, remove the 3 bolts that hold on the rear fender. Now as you remove this last bolt, just remember to hold on to that rear fender so it doesn't fall to the ground, and then help the wiring through so that it doesn't get caught. So now that we've got the fender removed from the bike, we need to prep the fender eliminator before we can install that. So let's head over to the bench. The first step of installing the tail tidy is to install our indicators. Now, depending on the indicators that you used, you may need to use some spacers, or in our case, we've used an extra nut, just to make sure that the width is correct for your number plate. Again, this will depend on the indicators that you choose to use. So we're going to start by fitting these up. They simply go through the holes on the ends here. Pull them all the way through, followed by this lock washer and the nut. And we'll do that one up. And then just making sure that the direction is how we'd like it to be. And then we can fully tighten these. In our case, we use the 14mm spanner. As mentioned earlier, that will depend on your indicator size. Again, we're just going to check if that's in the direction that we want it to be, and of course do the same to the other side. So now that we have these installed, we're going to take the wiring. We're just going to feed the wires up through this hole in the top here. As you pull these sheaths back to make sure we cover the whole wire. So then we're going to need some of the cable ties that came in the kit. And we're just going to cable tie these wires in place using the provided holes. So you see there's a set here. Just come in, back up through the back. Same on the other side. And then lastly in the center here. Once those are installed, we can take our side cutters and trim off the excess. To prepare the light bracket, we're going to need the light, as well as the two little Phillips head screws that came in the kit. So you'll see this light has a couple of bolts here. We're not actually going to use those, so we can just take those off. And we're going to unravel this wire. And so then we're going to feed this wire through the larger hole here on the bracket. Feed the light all the way up. And then using our Phillips head screwdriver, we're going to install these little Phillips head screws. So they just go into the side here and into the light. Now, you don't need to do these up tight, just until they stop. We can then also install this cable tie. So we're just going to go in from the top and up underneath. Take the plate section back again, take these two wires and feed them through this main access hole. So feed that all the way through. And we're just going to take a couple of these mounting bolts, just feed them through here just to get those two aligned. We can then feed that sheath back a little bit, take these three wires down through here and do that cable tie up. I'm just going to trim that cable tie. So the last bit to do before we can fit it is to fit this infill panel. So we're just going to sit it behind the product here, feed all these wires through, and then sit this on top of the assembly. We'll just feed that bolt through, we'll feed this other bolt back through as well. So we can then take this assembly over and fit it to the bike. We're going to start by feeding the wiring through this main hole here. And then offering the whole assembly up into that original recess. So we then take one of those M8 nylock nuts that came into the kit and just thread that onto the bolt to hold it in place. And now with the tail tighter unit in place, we can fit the other two bolts and nuts. We then use our 5mm Allen key and our 13mm socket to do those up. So we can now start to connect the wiring. It's It's important when you do this to make sure that your ignition is turned off. So the first step is to take the link wire that came in the kit and plug it into the main harness. We're going to start by taking our 3-wire from the brake light. We're going to take the green wire and plug it into this single bullet lug green wire on the side here. We'll then take the blue wire and we're going to run that to the green and yellow wire on this link wire. And then lastly, this yellow wire goes to the brown wire here. So we then take our indicators here, the black ones are the earths. That may be different on your indicators. They go to this twin bullet plug here. And then your left indicator goes to the orange. And your right indicator goes to the light blue. Now, we will put a full wiring diagram on the screen for you here. Lastly, we won't be using this brown wire. Now, before we start to finish off this install, we need to do a really important safety check. We're going to take our key, put it in the ignition, and then we're just going to check that all our lights are working correctly, especially the brake light. So just take your brake, make sure that that's operating correctly, that your number plate light underneath here is lit up, and then lastly, that your indicators are working on the correct side. Now you notice here we've got them on the incorrect side. The fix for this is simple. Turn your ignition back off and then take that orange and blue wire and just swap those two leads over. Once you've done this, if you turn your ignition back on, you should see that your indicators are now working on the correct sides. We can now reinstall the data connector using the 2 original Phillips head screws. We can then resheathe the original connectors, tying up the sheath with the cable tie that came in the kit. We're then going to feed the excess wiring underneath the steel subframe and then place the connector and sheaths back as they were when we originally looked at the bike. The final step is to fit your pillion seat, your number plate, and then we can head out for a ride. Now, it's a wise idea after you have been for a few rides, just go over the whole installation, check that everything's still nice and tight, and especially check that all your lights are still operating correctly. Now, we hope this video has helped you with the install. If you haven't purchased this product and you'd like to, mustardbikes.com. We sell a whole range of tail tighters for a whole range of different bikes, including a large portion of the CF-MOTO range, as well as some of the accessories like the indicators that we've used today. Don't forget to keep in touch with us on our social media, Facebook, Instagram. We love hearing from our customers and seeing how they went. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video as well. It really helps us out. Thanks again, until next time. It's the final shot, Matt.